and thanks for tuning in to another awful movie review. Taking a vacation on a Polynesian island. Paradise on Earth, some would say. But don't you just hate it when a walking killer tree ruins your whole holiday? I know I do.
I tell the truth!
From Hell It Came deserves its title because it really does feel like it came straight out of the fiery pits of hell. When we think of the most ridiculous monsters ever in cinema, I can't help but feel that we tend to neglect Tobanga, the walking tree.
You have committed the greatest crime of all.
But I'll give credit anyways to director Dan Milner for taking on a project with such a ridiculous premise of a grumpy looking tree which lumbers around killing people, but we'll get to that in a bit. Just before we get going, if there's a bad movie you would like me to review, just leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to like this review, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts and feelings on From Hell It Came.
Don't be stingy at a time like this, dearie.
So as I was saying, this piece of crap of a film takes place on some Polynesian island. An innocent man is wrongly accused of murder and sentenced to death by the chief of the tribe. But just before his last breath, he warns his enemies that he will come back from the grave and avenge himself. And he does come back, in the form of a tree.
Well, okay.
And this is where the movie hits a massive road bump.
Trouble for us, I'm afraid.
The story of people coming back from the grave to get their revenge on someone is something we've seen before, and up to that point, the film is okay. But why couldn't the guy come back as something more menacing, like a man-eating tiger, a killer crocodile, something like that? But come on, a tree?
I know what's on your mind. It's written all over you.
There's a party of scientists also present on the island to study the effects of radiation in the area. Thank God they're here to bring us their expertise and enlighten us on what's going on.
It's a tree, all right.
Is no one going to mention that the tree has got a face?
They called it Tobanga.
Adding all the scary music doesn't change the fact that it's just a tree.
Well, that's that.
There's talk of this being an ancient curse, and there's also talk about this monster being the results of nuclear radiation.
Geiger reading is high on 65. Radioactive material in this thing.
Both theories are mentioned, but no definitive answer ever comes to light. It'd be time you guys made up your minds. So there we go, a killer tree with a pulse and a grumpy mug is walking around at the speed of a turtle, wanting to get its hands on those who did him dirty. His victims have to immobilize themselves or fall and trip on something in order for Tobanga to kill them, because at the speed it's going, I don't see why there should be any cause for concern. Unbelievable that this guy actually missed from that close.
That can't be.
You can tell that even Tobanga didn't want to be in this. He's just dragging his feet, doing the bare minimum. Alright, we're finished now. Time for me to buzz off. In fact, the monster in question doesn't even get up and walk until 46 minutes into the film and doesn't kill anyone until the 52-minute mark. And this is barely over an hour and 10 minutes long.
Well, we've done everything we can. There's nothing more we can do.
So, the special effects suck. What about the characters? Well, they suck even more. The suckiness Geiger counter is just going crazy right now. They just are a bunch of bland stock characters with no real flavor or personality, and all about as shallow as a seashell.
I believe it, but others do not.
Well, apart from this guy, who acts like a complete dimwit with the lead female scientist, he insists on making her love him, but later in the movie, he doesn't hesitate to act like a complete buffoon with her in front of everybody. He just doesn't get it now, does he? And let's not forget Linda Watkins, who was so annoying as what is supposed to be an Australian scientist, with one of the most forced and most unbearable accents in the world. I just really wanted her to shut up.
Now, that's not a nice thing to say.
And it's not by adding the word blooming to every sentence that you're going to make her sound more Australian.
The bloomin' cannibals, they ought to drop a bloomin' hydrogen bomb.
Seems like every place you go on this bloomin' island, you break a tribal law or something.
Honestly, this is one of the most ridiculous movies I've ever seen in my life. For once, I've actually seen a bad movie which overachieves at something. From Hell It Came overachieves at being completely stupid, more than a lot of other horrors I've reviewed here on the channel. Maybe this would have worked a little better if it was a horror comedy and the story was self-aware, but here it just takes itself so seriously, which is another problem. Yeah, this is a cinematic disaster, which is why this piece of crap can go to hell. What an awful movie.